welcome to LTV News. I'm Nada Marche and these are the day's top stories. Iran says it's captured a US drone that was flying in the country's airspace. Several well-known Egyptian newspapers and TV stations went on strike. And Prince William and his wife Catherine are expecting a baby. Beginning with some news from the Middle East. Iran says it's captured a US drone that was flying in its airspace. State TV showed what it says and was the remains of the drone, however it never said how it was going to be captured. The following report has more on the story.
These are the latest images coming out of Iran showing what it says are the remains of a captured US drone. Tehran says it was flying in the country's airspace. The Scan Eagle drone was gathering information over Gulf waters and had entered Iranian space when it was captured by the Navy unit of the Islamic Revolutionary Guards. A US Navy spokesman said they were aware of the reports and were looking into them. In November, the United States said Iranian warplanes shot at a US surveillance drone flying in international airspace. Iran said the aircraft had entered its airspace and said it would respond decisively to any foreign encroachments into its areas. Also last month, Iran's ambassador to the United Nations, Mohammad Ghazi, wrote to Secretary General Ban Ki-moon to complain about repeated US violations of Iranian airspace, describing them as illegal and provocative acts. Ghazi said the US craft had entered southern Iran 7 times in October around Bashir, where Iran's only nuclear power plant is stationed.
East of Jerusalem lies a barren hill with roads running up its rocky slopes and lampposts providing slivers of shade from often fierce sun. There is no police station, no houses or shops for now. Known simply by its administrative name E1, this exposed stretch of landscape is at the centre of a growing diplomatic dispute that pits Israel against many of its Western allies, not to mention the Palestinian Authority. The White House swiftly denounced Friday's announcement, which included news the government planned to build 3,000 homes in other undisclosed West Bank and East Jerusalem settlements. Critics of the scheme warn that the build on the E1 would effectively ruin any chances of creating a viable state for the Palestinians, thereby killing off the peace process. Egypt's opposition newspaper are the latest to express their anger at the country's president Mohamed Morsi by holding a day strike. Morsi recently enacted a decree which gives him immunity for the country's judiciary. Since then, thousands have protested, saying they want the law reversed.
Egypt's political unrest widened today as several well-known Egyptian newspapers and TV stations went on strike. Newspaper stands in central Cairo are left with gaps on their shelves as some major publications did not go to print. About 10 titles withheld publication on a day when mass demonstrations are planned in opposition to President Mohamed Morsi's decree of November 22nd, putting him above legal challenge and moves to rush through a controversial constitution. Several top courts have stopped work in recent days, and the Judges Club, an influential judicial body, has urged its colleagues to boycott the upcoming referendum.
Moving on to some of our world news now. Thousands of Islamist supporters have taken to the streets of Bangladesh today, angry at the government, which is trying to prosecute members of the national largest Islamist group. Officials say the members are guilty of war crimes, however many believe the charges are politically motivated.
Bangladesh's largest Islamist party called for a day-long strike today that has shut schools and businesses across the country in a bid to save several of its leaders from war crime charges. Police said hundreds of supporters from the Jamaat-e-Islami party poured onto the streets of the capital Dhaka and several other cities across the country, clashing with officers and burning vehicles. Police chased the activists who threw stones and torched cars despite the heavy presence of security forces. Officers said one activist died in clashes with police in the northern Dinpun area on Monday night and several others were injured. Half a dozen of Jamaat's top leaders, including its former chief Ghulam Azim, are on trial of charges of war crimes against humanity during the 1971 independence war against Pakistan. Officials and lawyers say the Jamaat leaders opposed the independence of Sri Lanka and collaborated with the Pakistani army in committing atrocities during the war. The party denies the charges, saying they are politically motivated.
At least 5 police officers were wounded during a riot at Belfast City Hall in Northern Ireland after Irish nationalist councillors voted to remove the British flag from the building on all 17 days of the year. Hundreds of protesters, many carrying British flags, clashed with police after nationalist councillors from Sinn Féin and the SDLP voted to take down the flag, which has flown above the City Hall every day since the building was opened in 1906. An attempt to storm the building was repelled by police. A photographer and 2 security guards were injured in the disorder and 2 female police officers were treated in hospital. Further steps have taken to get to the bottom of one of Afghanistan's biggest bank scandals. Officials say they are now closer to finding out how since 2004 over $90 million were stolen from the country's biggest bank. However, not everybody is convinced by the news since many government members were implicated within the scandal.
New progress has been made recently in the latest hearing in the financial scandal case that was uncovered at Afghanistan's Kabul bank last year. After a 1-year investigation, the Kabul bank corruption case team reported that through the use of fake names, forged documents and fictitious companies, those at the highest level of Kabul bank were suspected of diverting saving deposits worth up to $90 million in the 8 years since 2004, accounting for 5% of the Afghan national GDP. Many here believe the Afghan government should pay close attention to the politician protection network behind the whole financial scandal of Kabul Bank. Kabul Bank is the largest and the first commercial bank in Afghanistan. Statistics show that nearly 1 million Afghans were affected by the bank corruption case.
Now for some sports news. Legendary prize fighter Muhammad Ali was named King of the Boxing at the World Boxing Council's 50th annual convention in Cancun, Mexico. Ali was appointed King of Boxing by a special committee headed by current WBC heavyweight champion Vitaly Klitschko and Mexico's 6-time world champion Julio Cesar Chavez. Ali, 70, who suffers from Parkinson's disease, did not speak at the event. He was accompanied by his wife, Loni. About 100 current and former boxing champions were in the audience to witness Ali's crowning. Planning for 2016 Olympics, Brazil was underway this week as 30 international representatives of national Olympic committees met for the first time with Brazil's 2016 organisers. The group toured several venues for Olympic events, including the Rodrigo de Freitas Lagoon, where many of the boat races will take place. Representatives of the Czech Republic's committee said they hope to learn details in the meeting. The group will spend the next 2 days looking at other venues and will then return home to report their committees. Now let's take a look at the world of arts and culture. Britain's Prince William and his wife Catherine are expecting a baby destined to be the country's future monarch. Although the mother-to-be is in hospital with a type of a very acute morning sickness that sometimes indicates twins. The couple, officially known as the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, married in April last year amid a global media frenzy. William was at her side before leaving the hospital and being driven away. The Duchess is likely to remain in hospital for several days. Despite not having a large Indian diaspora, thousands of Moroccan fans gathered in the Jama al-Fna Square outside the world-famous souk in Marrakesh to catch a glimpse of Bollywood superstar Shah Rukh Khan, solidifying Indian cinema's popularity in the region. Khan was in Morocco for the Marrakesh Film Festival, and he turned out to present a free open-air screening of his film Jab Takai. As part of the homage to Hindu cinema, fans screamed and chanted for the 47-year-old actor, who paid reverence to the crowd by bowing to them on stage and later showboating on a small wooden barrier in front of the photographers. That's all we have time for today, but before we go, let's take a look back at today's top stories. Iran captured a US drone that was flying in the country's airspace. Several well-known Egyptian newspapers and TV stations went on strike. And Prince William and his wife Catherine are expecting a baby. Thank you for watching. For more information, do visit our website at www.levant.tv. Join us tomorrow at the same time, and until then, from all of us here at LTV News, goodbye.